Gavin, welcome to Radioactiva, man. It's a great pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you.
I'm really looking forward to listen to your upcoming record. I think so far it sounds great with the singles we have listened to so far, but I've checked also the playlist of the songs that haven't been released yet, and there are titles like Slaves and Sending the Clowns. And well, if we consider that the title of the record is The Kingdom, I wanted to ask you, where is the kingdom?
Well, it's such an incredible time right now, of course, with the worldwide sort of racial um, protests, right? And I always said that the kingdom was a place free of is a mindset. You know, it's not a location. It's just sort of a like-minded, connected way of thinking. You know, if you look at sort of how they try to indoctrinate people with religions, and when you read, you read *Sapiens* and you understand how religions began and how they morphed and who made it and the success of different religions over others. And so this is a really altruistic ideology of a racist free, self-righteous free, judgment free place. You know, and it's where the world needs to go in order to survive, because we're so dumb and destructive that actually we've been doing terrible things to oppressed poor people forever. That's the way the society's being built. It's the structure of society. And so now everyone's trying to realizes that we've got to just break it up. And for some reason, it just took this poor man's murder for everyone to be like, fuck, we got, because we all knew about it. We just didn't do fuck all about it, really. And so it's a real awakening. So it's beautiful how the record fits, because we had the spiritual awakening of COVID. You know, like if we'd done this interview like 10 minutes ago, it'd been all about what have you been doing in lockdown. Now it's like COVID's gone. It's been cured by racism. You know, now racism is the vaccine. We found it, so it's a real time for uniting people in the right way. And, and then you hear of terrible things being written to Jeff Bezos by like racists, by white supremacists. You know, it's like, oh my God, this is like, I'm from London, you know what I mean? Like no one cares. Just everyone's consenting adults. That's all anyone cares about in London. You know, it's like, it's free. So the rest of the world, sometimes, I mean, not so much Europe or, I don't know, South America, but it's just like, sometimes it's very conservative, it's very conservative. And anyway, but yeah, the kingdom, I'm very excited for people to hear it. You know, it really sits and it's really fun and it's irreverent. It's got like spirit,
Okay, and when I found the name of the songs and I found Sending the Clowns, I remember of that classic song with the same title, Sending the Clowns, and I was, it took me to this whole idea. And I don't know if you heard the song. I don't remember the lyrics right now, but it just kind of grabbed me to that time.
I think I've heard that, Sending the Clown.
Yeah.
But it's like, of course, I know that lyric and I love it, of course. But I think that it's really important that sometimes things are brought forward, and just it's, there's such a beautiful phrase. Seems sad to like, oh, it can only live in 1929 when it was written. That's the end of that line. I love that line, and I think it's a really interesting way of sort of admitting that you're mad. Admitting that you're difficult. You admit you're difficult for someone else, and so you sing "Sending the Clowns."
I've listened to three songs, The Kingdom, Bullet Holes, and Flowers on a Grave. Every time I listen to a track, I try to listen to it several times to try and grab, the right meaning of the words and the lyrics. And I kept feeling this sense of solitude with songs like Flowers on a Grave, of course. And since, we are locked in our houses and they are somehow now our kingdom. So I don't know if I'm going too far. But I kept thinking, in this whole idea of kingdom and solitude. And now I was thinking, what would Mr. Gavin Rossdale be going through to compose these songs,
It's beautiful. It makes me feel like we were, in the right, mining the right hill, inspired by the same view as other people. I sang about in Bullet Holes, race wars, star wars, planet wars, mind wars. So you could already see that the fissures, the break in society, and so fragmented, and there was police brutality. I always knew it's scary for me. I get scared of the police here in California when I'm driving and they're behind me. I'm naturally guilty. I'm naturally nervous. I'm sure I've got something wrong, or something I don't want found. And we've all have these separate lives, and what it began with COVID was people realizing that we relied on each other way more than people realized, both physically to maintain the structure of life, to stock the shelves, to open the doors of the supermarket, through to going out for like fancy dinners with your friends and drinking expensive wine or some shit. It's like it goes both ways. Everything suffered. And everybody was like, going to really appreciate everyone want to get out. Things that I took so much for granted, I'm going to have again. I didn't give it that much of a window, by the way. I think people will be really grateful and go crazy for like 3 months, and then 3 months, forget it ever happened. It'd be like a blip of time. Yet for all of us, it's like slow motion. The world stopped. Everyone's like seeing things in slow motion. So yeah, I've always enjoyed that with my words, between you and me and your listeners. I've always written words, and there's something about those words that comes true or makes much more sense 6 months later or a year later. When you think of the kingdom, oppression lives in the mind of oppressor. Stand up, solutions are better than any of your problems. People just soldier on. This is the goal, and this is the kingdom. That's it. So it's everything I've been talking about. It's like a terribly amazing weird fit. It's like a really weird fit. Like, wow.
When I listen to Bullet Holes, I love how the bass sound on the song. It reminds me a lot of Calm Down. I've listened to Bush since early 90s, and it took me immediately to that time, to that bass line, but it just sounds, it sounds heavier. It sounds like a tank, it sounds heavy.
I love that. To be honest, it's like, for me, music's infinite and beautiful, and Mozart and Slipknot use the same notes, and it's just a journey that I've been on and that I'm going through as I get better and more confident and more consistent and more expressive as a guitar player, and what I want to hear, and more connected to, like, I don't know. I just keep thinking that you only have to think of, it's a really good exercise, this one, for all budding young songwriters out there. You think of your top 10 favorite ever songs, and then you realize you'll never write songs as good as those, but you can always keep trying. And it's in that space between actually writing those songs and where you are that there's all the joy there, because you're headed in the right direction, but you never quite get there because those songs are too good. When are you going to write a better song than Bohemian Rhapsody? Never. You're not. So it means there's always somewhere to go. You can never be like, and then the day that you write a better song better than Bohemian Rhapsody, whether it is or not, but if you think it is, that means your day's done because it's not better than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, I get it.
So it's a pretty good. It's almost like a Buddhist mantra for songwriting.
So far, the album sounds great, and let me say something. I'm not into tagging music, saying this is this genre or that genre. I think we're way past that in 2020. But sonically, somehow I feel like Bush sounds tougher. Somehow like leaning into a heavier sound, like into heavy metal.
I just do the music that's heavy and just seriously turns me on. Of like thinking of an audience, thinking of people that love our music just lose themselves to it. It's always, I try and get the rhythms to be pulsating right around the stomach, in people's stomachs, it's just in their kind of lungs, and just, holds people. And I've listened to the records, playing some yesterday, and they all have that throb, that pulse. and I like that pulse. And I suppose, in some ways, the music is heavy metal. The music or the guitar, the riffs, or heavier, heavier. No, I wouldn't say heavy metal because there's no double bass drum. It's like groovy, heavy rock, detuned rock, and I think it's so sexy. And it's funny because Chris, he came up through Orange 9mm, so he's more in the hardcore scene in New York. Then we did that band Institute together, which was all dropped, all tuned, and he was in Helmet, so he's played that heavy metal stuff. That's like Helmet. If Helmet's heavy metal, but because the way he sings, I don't do the lots of the screaming. I can't do it. It's impressive that some people can do it really well, but I couldn't do that. I don't want to do that. Like, I really love the car crash of the most beautiful melody saying the most painful thing. That's the perfect meal. It's like it's an all balancing moment. And if you have the lyric that's too more soft, and then you sing a song, you know what I mean? So everything has to have conflict in it. And I like that conflict. And it's quite hard to find melody on a one note riff. It's a bit of a, wow, how do you do that?
Yeah, no, but
certain people do it. I mean, Corey Taylor, he's excellent at that. He really can find great songs in super heaviness. Deftones, I don't know what they're not metal. I mean, the Deftones I prefer. Chino is my favorite singer, but the stuff I really love is not the screamo bit at all. Like, I just kind of go, wow, impressive. It doesn't really move me in the way that when he sings, it's like, forget it. He's very special.
I'm not a musician, so I don't know exactly how to describe that, but let me share something with you. The first live recording I had from a Bush show was this version of Everything Zen included on the Woodstock 99 record. And I love the way it sounds. I love how heavy it feels, the live recording. And somehow, from what we've heard from The Kingdom so far, it seems like you just guys crank it up a lot in the recording session for this album in particular. How does that work? How does that happen sonically?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's just they're always to some degree led by my aesthetic, and then everyone helps me, right? You know what I mean? Everyone helps me to develop them where I want them to go. And when I began them, they had just like the last record was very bruised. I love the last record, Black, White, Rainbows. My band don't like it that much. I don't know. They didn't really connect to it that much. I loved it. And it was a very bruised record, and I'm really proud of it. I mean, like, that's People at War, that song, that's like one of the best songs I've ever written. It's really, really, it's got some songs I'm really proud of on there. I think it's too long, but that's because I had a weird manager that kept on making me put more on there. Anyway, this record allowed me to go on the road for 2 years, witness the band not really wanting to play too many of that record. Now, I'm not like a, I'm not going to say, you got to play this, you got to play that. I'm going to say, shall we play this? And if no one really goes for it, we don't really do it, So they didn't really naturally want to play much of that record. So when I made this record and I began the whole process, every song, I was like, fuck you, you're going to want to play this. You're going to want to play this. But you're not ignoring this one. I'm not giving it to you unless it's a song you can't ignore. So that's what it was. And the basis of it was just to continue in the vein of having incendiary live shows. And like never forfeit. So on a record, it's like, well, I want it to be a great song and the lyrics as good as they can be, a great song. But some of it's like I've let it just run a little bit, breathes a bit more, longer, middle bits, intros, just to kind of give it that feel, that grandeur, over 12 songs. And that was the idea, really. And it just felt like doing a powerful, I like these, a great description, like a tank, like a tank. That's a great description. I'll take that. So if you want to make a record that sounds like a tank, you just detune everything and get it like fucking deep and dark and dangerous, and then you play the songs, and that's what I did. And some of those tunings are really I always have them on records, but I've never, sometimes they don't make it, as songs. I might write 25 songs for a record. And then a couple of them do, but then I do other regular tuning. But what I did on this record is I did nothing regular, just every song. So I gave no choice. It was always going to be this style, because I knew that I didn't want to have people fall in love with the song as the one that's kind of tuned more sort of politely. It's like, no, I want it to be darker. So they all began in a dark place, dark.
Okay. Well, Gavin, thank you very much for taking the time for this interview for us in Radioactiva 97.9 in Colombia. It's been a great pleasure. Looking forward for the record, and of course having you guys coming down south for a few shows in Latin America. That will be great, man.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.